Section 2 deals with range orientation, conduct, rules and commands. We'll start firstly with range procedure and conduct. Very important to understand that the initial arrival at the shooting range is a potentially dangerous situation because we don't know whether the firearms are loaded or unloaded, whether they're in your bags, whether they're in your holsters. So on arrival at the range, we prefer do not unload your firearms in the parking lot or in the reception area. What we prefer to do is leave the firearms as they are. We go down to the shooting range under supervision on the firing line. The instructor will ask you to unbag your firearms or unholster your firearms, and from there we will then make sure that the firearms are unloaded or unload them in a controlled environment. So on arrival at the range, keep the firearms as they are. Don't unnecessarily handle firearms on the way down to the shooting range. Keep them packed as they are. When we get onto the firing line, from there we'll then unload the firearms under supervision. Safety equipment. On the range, it is mandatory to wear eye and ear protection. This is not negotiable. So on the shooting range, we must have suitable eye protection as well as ear protection. Range rules. No spectators or unauthorized persons allowed on the firing line. Pregnant women will not be allowed on the range without physician's consent. Shooting at any stage during pregnancy can have adverse medical effects on the child. So any pregnant woman, we suggest that if they want to shoot, we need permission and a written letter from the physician to say that they're entitled to shoot. In case something goes on the range, at least we'll be covered for that. No handling of firearms other than on the firing line. No alcohol is permitted on the range, and any person under the influence will be asked to leave the range. So if we suspect that you've had a really good lunch and you're a little bit intoxicated, we'll ask you to leave the range immediately. All firearms at all times must point downrange. Once the range has been declared safe, there's to be no handling of firearms, magazines, or ammunition. So at any stage while the range is open or safe, there's to be no handling of firearms, magazines, or ammunition, because I bet you, for one, wouldn't like to stand up front, either putting up your target or patching your target if someone is fiddling with a firearm behind you. The instructor or range officer must inspect each and every firearm before declaring the range safe or open. And the instructor should attend to any malfunctions. So if your firearm is stopped in the training, we will obviously help you with the stoppage drills. But for learners or beginners, we prefer that the instructor or the facilitator actually be on hand to cope with the malfunction or stoppage. No firearm should be packed or removed without the instructor's permission. Obey all commands immediately. Be sure the firearms are in working condition and that the ammunition is the correct ammunition for your firearm. Eye and ear protection is mandatory, as we discussed before. It is forbidden to handle another person's firearm without his or her permission. Cell phones to be switched off on the firing line, and the instructor's decision will be final pertaining to any matters concerning safety or control of the shoot. For safety on the range, we will insist on eye and ear protection. Eye protection, we need proper safety glasses, something that can resist a smack on it so it doesn't shatter and put glass into your eyes. We also prefer some kind of side protection as well, because being on the range, there's a good possibility that an empty case from a semi-automatic could fly out and hit you on the side of the eye or hit you in the eye. We also found that they need to be nice and flush on top of your head, because we've seen normal sunglasses, the empty case falls inside, gets between the eye and the glass and burns the person's cheek or can damage the eye. So nice eye protection, shielding around the sides. From a revolver, we've also had incidences where you get side flash from the side of the revolvers and you get pieces of lead shaving off, and obviously you get that in your eye, it's going to be pretty drastic. So eye protection is very, very important. And also we need to consider if there's a ricochet out of the sandbank or the bullet trap, especially on an indoor range where you may hit a piece of steel in the back and the bullet comes back, you want something to protect your eyes. Ear protection, we want good quality earmuffs that fit around the entire ear and the bottom of the ear as well. What we have found is that with earplugs alone, the earplug will plug the inside of your earlobe, but your inner ear over here, the sound still gets through here, and can damage your ears. Each time your ears ring, you've actually done damage to your ears. So what would help even better would be ear plugs with proper ear protection. But we have found that if you've got decent quality ear protection, your ears, there shouldn't be any damage to your ears. Just to recap again, eyes and ears, very important to make sure that you've got quality glasses and quality ear protection. One hazard that we have found on the range is that before you start firing or before you start loading the firearm, put your eyes and your ears on first. Because people generally load the firearms and then realize that they haven't put their ear protection on, and with a gun in their hand, they try to put their ears on like this with a gun in their hands. This is a potential hazard to self, others, and property. So make sure that before you start loading or start firing or start handling the firearm, put your eyes and your ear protection on, then pick up your firearm, load the firearm, and continue firing. Once you've finished firing, make sure we put the gun down first. Again, don't try with the firearm in your hands, try and take your ear protection off. Make sure the gun's unloaded, put the gun down on the table, and from there you can take your ear protection off. You can either place them on your head, you can place them over your leg, you can place them over your shoulder, and then from there you can move forward and pat your targets.